part 2 of books we hate that we spent time reading so that you don't have to. Andrew's going to kick us off.
This guy, Moby Dick. This book was intensely about sailing, how the ship is built, like every detail, how it's built, how you sail it, which there's like all this stuff. Then it goes into like the anatomy of every kind of whale ever invented. And then like the worst part is you don't even meet Moby Dick until the very end of the book. Like you read, like it's not a thin book. You read like 500 pages and then you meet him and then it's over. It was so long. And I was like, I like classics. So I was like, I'm going to finish it. It took me a long time and it was horrible. I also picked this book because it's really short, but it took me like 2 months to read because it's just such a weird writing style where like, I don't know, the flow is just horrible and it's really dark like every fairy tale we read. And the bear, who is like one of my favorite characters, is abusive in the book. So I was like, this is a horrible children's book. So those are my 2.
Those are good ones.
Books I hate.
Yeah.
I wonder if at the time, because like some of the books we hate are from, I think, the similar time periods. I wonder if at the time it was just like the style of writing. Or
yeah.
I wonder if they thought it was good then.
I mean, I've read other books that have that, like Moby Dick and Jungle Book have like similar writing styles. Moby Dick had better flow. But yeah, some of the other ones like Little Mermaid, I mean, they all kind of have this similar writing style, and I think we just talk different now. So going back in time, you have to either like read it all the time and get used to it.
Yeah, I think that's what's hard is like the syntax is just so different that it actually takes effort to read the pages and to make sense of what they're saying. And along that same line, I'll just raise this bad boy up right here, The Last of the Mohicans. Because it's freaking terrible. Like this one doesn't have the courtesy or like the excuse of being time period. No, this just doesn't make fucking sense. It doesn't. And like sentences don't make sense.
Read us a sentence, Madeline.
Words they use aren't real. I don't think they were real even at this time. And this is a book that I said I read, but I spark note and like had to read someone else interpreting it for me because I could not figure out what they were talking about. This isn't as bad as Lord Grizzly, which I should bring that one up next too. Also, this is
I thought for sure that would be the first one out of like everyone's mouth.
Oh my gosh.
Just, I hated hearing about it.
I can't find a sentence right now. I feel like I'm being put on the spot. Okay, here's one. A few, and they, not the least powerful and terrific of the band, threw looking looks, in which the fiercest passion was only the tempered by habitual self-command at those captives who still remained in their power, while one or more even gave vent to their malignant feelings by the most menacing gestures, against which neither sex nor the beauty of the sisters was any protection. That's one sentence. What happened there? I don't know. I don't know. Am I dumb? Like,
in my defense, I didn't know it was written like that when I picked it.
I know, but it was so bad. And I appreciate it because Hawkeye is mentioned here in our beloved Iowa Hawkeyes, got the name from there. So it was cool to like read that part of a history that I actually knew about. But I'll never read that book again. I'll never recommend it to anyone. It had to be a solid D- F for me.
Strong feelings. I have 2 more. Can I tell you real quick?
Yeah, go Liz.
Okay. The Silmarillion by Tolkien. So this is the backstory of the world from Lord of the Rings. And like, we get it, Tolkien, you're smart. But this book was awful. Like he tried just like so hard to make himself sound smart. And the thing that pisses me off too is like they have all these characters, right? And they have very complicated names, but also everyone has like 3 names. And so they
I
use
hate when I do that.
they use like different names for the same person, because I don't really remember, but I think one is like their elf name and one is like something else, or like their god name. It's weird and it makes me angry. The other one is Clockwork Orange.
Did you read it?
Yeah. No one should ever have to read this book. It was terrifying. It's all about rape and torture. I don't know why this is a classic, and I don't know why anyone wrote this, but don't read it.
It's on the 100 book list too.
I don't know why.
People get like, there are people that are like, it's a brilliant movie, and I'm like,
What?
can we just put all those people in jail real quick? Like, I don't know.
Is it like a murder mystery, or like
No,
what kind of
no.
genre is it?
It's
Or
like,
like
a
what's the plot?
futuristic society, like it's supposed to be like set in the future, right? And it's like there's all these gangs and stuff around, and it follows this like one teenager. I think he's a teenager, and him and his friends, and they get up to trouble at night, and they like sexually harass a woman, and they like kill people, and they go on like sprees of fighting with other gangs, and then he gets like arrested, I think, and has to go through like a form of torture to try to like make him good again. That's the scene I think you see where they like hold his eyes open.
Like therapy.
Watch. Yeah. It's awful.
And then, not to spoil it, but then he hears the song after therapy's over and he's a good person. And it's all right back.
Oh my gosh.
I don't really remember the ending. I think I was just traumatized. I actually remember like Ryan and I were going on like a weekend trip somewhere, and he was driving and I was reading like always. And I'm reading this book and I like keep having to put it down. And I was like, I feel like I just need to tell you what's happening. And so I tell him all this awful stuff, and he's like, why are you reading this? You can stop. Like, stop. It was fun.
Checks it out the window.
Yeah. He's like, no one's making you read this. I'm like, good point.
Awkward. Kelly, did you have any others that you hate?
I don't have it with me. I have it somewhere. It's in storage or something. Frankenstein.
Oh,
I did not like reading that.
Why?
I don't know if it's like, I read it when I was in college, so I don't know if that had something to do with it. Like, maybe if I read it now, I would get something different. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. Yeah, I just didn't enjoy it. And it's nothing like the like everybody talks about, and maybe this is why it bothers me. Like, people will make Frankenstein references, and that's not the same. Like, the book and the references that people make all the time, I'm like, oh, that's not actually how that.
Well, Frankenstein is actually the guy who makes the monster.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you always confuse that. Actually,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. Because you like see, like you follow his life once he's created. I thought that was kind of interesting. I thought the guy who created him was like, or Frankenstein. I thought Frankenstein was like, I don't know. He was a jerk. He like creates this monster and just abandons it. It's really sad because he just like, what?
Is the monster like a nice monster?
Yeah, he just like wants a family and people to hang out. So it's kind of sad.
Bad.
Depressing.
Yeah, it's not like the story that like everybody thinks about. Maybe that's why it like frustrates me, because I read it, but then you hear people like talk about it and I'm like, whatever. So I'm not a huge fan.
Question for everyone. Have you ever not finished a book? Like, started one and you hated it so much that you didn't actually finish?
Rarely, but like in like the last 5 years, it's happened once. And it was, I think I told you guys this. Somebody gave me a book and they're like, oh my God, I read this and thought you'd love it. And I was like, oh, it's like kind. I have a lot to read, but okay. And so she gave me the book. And I read like the first chapter and I tried so hard and it pissed me off so much because the book was so bad. And what does she think of me that she thinks that I would like this book because it's awful? And I just donated it because I couldn't even look at it on my shelf.
Dang.
I've never not finished one. I've even read War and Peace, and that's like incredibly long and drawn out.
It's a lot of tenacity. I think it's
I
like
don't
personal thing. Like it's hard to like once you're into it, starting, you're like, I kind of want to finish it to say that I've read it, even if I'm hating it right now. But the one book, I've probably done this a few times, but the one that's coming to my mind right now is It. I could not finish the book. I couldn't even finish the first chapter. So that was embarrassing. But yeah.
I guess I didn't technically finish If I Did It, that book by O.J. Simpson. He wrote a book about the murders,
Oh,
you
that
know.
does seem
And,
like a book you'd like. Why did you not finish it?
I think when it came out, I got it, and then there was like this whole big lawsuit about it being blood money. So like, could he profit off of it? Because I don't know, like there was some legality with it, so it got a lot of like publicity, and you know what happens. And I was just short of the end, and it's like I didn't need to finish because like you know what happens, but I wanted to know about like, because he never really talked about it the same in interviews and stuff. So it's like the bulk of the book is stuff he hasn't like directly said until this book came out. So I mean, the end you didn't need to know. You know, he went to like the trials and how that all went down. I wanted to know the beginning, and then like I think I was just too young when it all happened to really like, you understood who he was and what like the gist of it, but you didn't know any details. Like I didn't know anything about him or his life or anything.
I knew that phrase from it, like if the glove doesn't fit or whatnot, but I never knew it was attributed to that. I never like,
Yeah.
I think I was too young as well.
You
Yeah.
guys,
It's like
the other funny thing that happened when we were younger, that I like in the news that I didn't really understand what was happening, is the Monica Lewinsky thing. I remember that happening. Do you guys remember this? And I remember, I swear, I like talking to mom and dad or something, and they kept talking about a stain on Monica Lewinsky's dress, right? Can you, Kelly? I can't tell anymore. Somebody else talk. Oh, okay, there we go. But I just remember in the news they kept talking about a stain on her dress, and I swear to God, I remember asking mom and dad like what the stain was on this girl's dress. And her mom or dad just said ketchup, like she just got ketchup on her dress. And I remember thinking for the longest time, why do they care that she got ketchup on her dress?
I remember the big thing about the stain, and I was younger even, and I was just like, what is the deal with this girl being in the same area? And dad was just like, she like stole a job or something. Like he was like, it wasn't, she was doing somebody else's job, and quite literally that's what was happening. But I took it as like, I took it as like it was more a legality of like, oh, she released documents that, you know, something like that. And he was like, okay. But I remember the same thing, and I was like, what is the big deal with? And I didn't understand like the whole, I was really young, but I didn't understand like he was married to this person and like the impeachment thing. I was like, what? But I remember it being on the news, like constantly being really confused too. And then I recently like watched something or read something about her, and like that was not the first marriage that she was into. Everybody kind of was like, oh, she's a young White House aide, and I remember that being a narrative. And then I think recently like a wife came forward and was like, well, before Bill there was my husband. And I was like, what?
It's juicy.
Yeah.
I think this is my new favorite series. Books we hate.
I will say, like, I've never not finished one, but I have like skimmed. Like Plague Dog is like, oh, the fox is talking. Literally just skip those paragraphs. You know?
That was tough. Well, there are some of the books that we hated, disliked, would never read again, and would not recommend to anyone. So come back for some future book shit talk.